climate change, and sometimes you don't even realize it. Climate change is speeding at us like a baseball, faster than you might think.
Climate change has 5 major contributors: agriculture, transportation, construction, industry, manufacturing, and livestock. All of these are simple things that can be changed.
Most people don't see the urgency and don't do simple tasks like putting cans in the recycling. Here in New Mexico, you don't get paid to put a can in the recycling, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
As you can see, this paper should be going in the recycling. It's that simple, it takes like a minute.
And it's not just recycling. There are many different things you can do to help. As you can see, there are many different ways that you can make a difference. Some of which will change your life in a big way, like using sustainable energy, driving less, and buying local goods. And some that are little, like recycling, using LED lights, and growing plants. Both don't changing something. A big thing that many people don't do, but could make a huge difference, is renewable energy. Only 29% of the world uses it, but if we could get everyone to use things like wind and solar energy, we would reduce carbon emissions by 25 to 45%. Imagine how much of a difference it would make.
In our world today, our generation holds the people who have to reverse climate change. But if you think about it, we're the people who can't do much, yet we're still the ones giving this talk. Climate change has started affecting what we can do in our daily life. Like this summer, due to the insane heat, we couldn't do what we would in a typical summer. Even the simple little things like my soccer practices, but ended up being something that me and my teammates dreaded because of how hot it was.
We see all over the world how people are being affected by climate change. For example, this winter, when I was living in New York, it had already hit February and I hadn't seen a single snowflake fall. I had given up on winter. Climate change is also a huge political issue throughout the world. We're coming to a point in our lives where we have to start thinking about political issues and what we want to do in life. Because at the moment, we're only making a bad problem worse.
Helping can mean just doing simple things, like making sure what you're putting in the recycling doesn't actually go in the trash. If you keep an eye out, you will see how the small things don't alert people. It's such a simple act, and all it takes is a second.
We could be recycling 267.8 tons, but we only recycle 67.2 tons. On average, each American per day produces 4.51 pounds of trash, and about 75% of all that waste is recyclable, but barely any of it actually gets recycled. When even a tiny bit of trash gets into a huge load of recycling, it can make them have to throw the whole thing out. Just think about how much we could be helping instead of hurting our earth.
By 2050, there will be a drought for over 30 years in the Southwest. This will happen because New Mexico's temperature has risen 3 to 7 degrees Fahrenheit since the 20th century.
As time has passed, people who have been growing vegetables have had to ship to the northeast because it's getting too hot in the southeast. We knew about climate change since the 70s, and we could have done something then and there, but we didn't.
As you can see from the graph, too little is being done from the climate. But why is that? As we all know, climate change is a very real threat and something must be done. In my opinion, the businesses, officials, and the energy industry aren't doing enough. For those living the high life, they're the ones affected by climate change the least. If this graph remains the same, we're only making the bad problem even worse.
People are presented with data every day and they refuse to believe that they need to take action. As you can see from the graph, too little is being done for the climate. But why is that? This information comes from people in the US. Like this graph is based off of what the adults in America think people like large corporations, businesses, state officials, ordinary people, and the energy industry should be doing. We all know how big of an issue it is. And yet, just looking at this graph, you can see how little is being done.
Scientists have studied for decades why when you are shown a threat, you won't act until it is practically right in front of you. Human brains just aren't wired to react the same way as they do to quick-moving threats versus slow-moving threats. Daniel Gilbert, a psychology professor at Harvard, states, "Our brain is essentially a get-out-of-the-way machine, and many people believe it is happening too fast, but it is nowhere near fast enough to get our attention." What we're saying is that our neurological pathways literally cannot react the same way to a slow-moving threat.
It's like if someone were to throw a baseball at you. You would react. It could mean ducking, flinching, or catching it. But if someone told you that that baseball was being thrown at you and it wouldn't hit you for another 10 years, you would carry on with your life and forget about it. 10 years later, you would get hit with that baseball and you wouldn't have done anything to stop it.
If the world keeps going on its way, the way it has been since industrial revolution, apathy will lead us ending up getting hit by this baseball. Then there's rising temperatures and population displacement throughout the world.
But we can duck. We can duck right now. We can react and the world won't have to end up this way. People can work together in Congress, and places can be created for more environmentally friendly buildings.
If every American recycled just 1/10 of their newspapers, we could save about 25 million trees per year. 25 million. It would be so easy, but we're more worried about the problems that are right in front of us.
This country can switch to renewable energy. We can do all this. We just have to work together.
We just have to think about it and think about what is doable for you, whether that means switching to renewable energy or buying an electrical car or getting LED light bulbs or making sure the right things go in the recycling.
It all starts with one trash can.